This is what's in focus coming up tomorrow night here at Mario's 410 Grill in Bridgewater. It's Jake Paul and Iron Mike Tyson. Look, he's a social media juggernaut, an influencer of epic proportion, and he's got courage that he's getting in the ring with maybe one of the greatest of all time. But I want to talk about the legacy of Mike Tyson, who he is, what he's meant to the game. And for that, here he is, the fight professor, Bernie Vukelich. Bernie,
hey, Rob.
Let's talk about where it all began for a young teen, custom auto, out of the streets, into the gym in the Catskills, and at 21 years of age, he becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. Go ahead.
I think he was really 20, but you're right. He was the youngest ever heavyweight champion. He's got quite a legacy. If we were going to see the same Mike Tyson tomorrow night as we saw in the 80s, there would be no contest. But he's 58 years old. He's going to weigh in at 233, around there. That's heavy for him. And I wonder about the speed of the combinations, which was always his strong suit, as you remember.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. Mike Tyson, just to be this age, to do what he's done to get into the ring with a 27-year-old guy, that's a big ticket item. You and I are purists. I was talking to Tommy Yankello earlier, World Class Boxing. You already were talking to him earlier today. He said it's going to be a draw, and I think he was kind of, no pun intended, Roy Jones Jr., who he used to train when they got together. If this is legit, it's sanctioned, 2-minute rounds. If he gets by that first round or two, then, and as you said, a heavyweight, you got a puncher's chance. But just to have the courage to get in the ring with this guy, that means a lot.
At 58 years of age, 20-some years older than his opponent, very unusual. Most other athletes in other sports are long forgotten when they're 58 years old. Here he is making headlines. Now, keep in mind, he's going to make $20 million, and the other guy's going to make $40 million. I could probably talk you into going into the ring for $20 million.
I might consider that. But listen, here's the thing. What has happened to our sport? You've got Dana White, who's crushing it. Good for him. I'm a fan. You've got wrestling, WWE, crushing it. I'm a fan. And some of the big fights that are out there, if it's not Tyson Fury or Canelo Alvarez, the majority of people are watching. But this thing tomorrow night here will be packed. I mean, people are going to be watching. I'll be watching. What's the draw here, do you think?
I think it's the curiosity factor. You know, what's a 58-year-old has been doing in with a guy who's only had 10, 11 professional fights, no amateur background. What's going to happen? You know, people go to real boxing matches to see the inevitable, a knockout, and that's what they're probably going to see tomorrow night. I don't know who's going to knock who out. I doubt that it's going to be a vintage Tyson, but not the old Tyson.
No.
You know, his strength always was the speed of his combinations. He would throw 3 or 4 punch combinations. That's what would knock a guy out. The last time I saw him fight against Jones, he had no 3 or 4 punch combinations. And if he did, they were in slow motion. So I think in the first few seconds of the fight, you're going to see whether he has gotten that back. I have my doubts.
I get it. So let's talk about the style. Custom Auto, who also had another young heavyweight by the name of Floyd Patterson, who was 21, who won the title, right? That peekaboo style, if you will. I'm not saying Tyson has that, but that crouch, that roll back and forth, hooking off the jab, all that stuff. How would you describe his style? We know what Jake Paul is. He's a great stand-up fighter, got a powerful right hand, but he's just basic, if you will, but it works. But what and how would you describe the style of Mike Tyson?
Just what you said. Almost a copy of Floyd Patterson when it comes to defense. Patterson was a good counterpuncher. Mike Tyson was so offensive, he didn't need to worry about counterpunching and defense. I think tomorrow night that'll prove his undoing.
The only fighter, Tyson Fury's brother, who he lost to, and he's a good fighter, not a great fighter. I mean, can he keep leapfrogging this type of stuff to make millions and millions of dollars pay-per-view? Sooner or later, he's going to have to go legit.
Well, I mean, look, there's a book on fighters. It's called Boxing Rec, boxingrecords.com. And I could match you or anybody with a fighter who you can beat just by researching that book. Because it tells you what the guy's win-lose record is. It tells you if he lost, what kind of fighter did he lose to. So people used to ask me, are fights fixed? No, I mean, you don't need to fix a fight to get a win for your fighter. You just need to pick the right opponent.
Style make fight.
And there are people in that business who are as expert as picking an opponent as some neurosurgeon is in doing brain surgery.
Makes sense. But Mike Tyson, in his time, before all of the other outside noise, was a great fighter.
He was. Here's the thing. He fought 35 years ago. Nobody no X generation people know who that is.
No.
So, to say, well, he was one of the greatest, maybe the greatest heavyweight ever, I don't think he was.
No.
But he certainly was a juggernaut, and guys were afraid to fight him. And when they got in the ring, it showed a lot of times. But if you remember most of those fights, he just never stopped throwing punches, combinations, fast as lightning, and that's what won most of his fights.
The fight against Michael Spinks, Atlantic City, was that his peak, you think? Or earlier than that?
I think it was earlier than that. Spinks was an overblown light heavyweight.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I watched the replay of that the other day. Spinks looked like a willing victim to me in that fight.
Paycheck.
Yeah. Why not? That's what his profession was.
Here's what I loved about Mike Tyson, and I still loved the game back then. I have my issues with the game now. I'm not all in as I used to be. It just needs to do better, I think. And I think Oscar De La Hoya and others really are trying, but they need to all step up their game. I think of Teddy Atlas, who had him. I think obviously of Cuss when he was in the Catskills, watching 8mm footage of great fighters, living it, eating, sleeping, breathing, boxing. All those fighters, Ray Robinson, Ali, early on, that's when they are at their pinnacle. But something happens along the way to where they lose the edge. Usually too much money, fame, whatever, party, whatever. I just hope everything that he did to get to the point that he did and all the trouble that he went through, I hope that he gets out of this tomorrow night unharmed and has a respectful ending to where maybe if it just wakes up a few people to remember how great he was prior to all of that noise, I'll be happy. And Jake Paul, God bless him, because he's got people at least talking boxing, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, I really don't 100% agree with your glum assessment of the current boxing situation. There's a lot of great young fighters around.
The more people know about this than those great fighters, and that's what upsets me.
You'll see on the undercard tomorrow night 2 of the greatest women boxers in the business. One I think is going to retire soon.
Tell everybody who we're talking about.
Pardon?
Tell everybody who we're talking about.
Well, Amanda Serrano versus Katie Martin. And Katie's a British girl, a very good fighter. Serrano's I think the first woman fighter to fight 3 10-minute rounds, or 10 3-minute rounds. And she did that and got a win within the last year. So that'll probably be one of the more interesting fights. Who else is on the undercard, I really don't know. As you said, that's what people are coming to see, Paul and Tyson.
Listen, you've got the Crawfords out there. You got Canelo still moving the meter. And, of course, Tyson Fury trying to regain some glory. There are some good things that are happening in the game. But I just wish we could get a platform like this to have more people see what the game is about and why we love it so
Well,
much.
first of all, Rob, as you know, we've talked about this many times. People like to see the heavyweights. It's the other night on television. You had Bam Rodriguez
Yes.
fight. I think he's a small fighter, 130 pounds, 135 pounds. I think he's one of the best fighters in the last 25 years. He's so skilled. He's 24 years old. He just took apart his opponent in methodical fashion. If you're a boxing purist, which I know you are, you appreciate that kind of skill set. And there's Bam and there's other guys like him that are going to maybe match him next year with one of my favorite fighters, Chocolatito.
He's tough.
And I think Bam will beat him. Chocolatito's 35 years old. So, and in those smaller weights, that's pretty old. So,
Listen, 35 to be in the ring is pretty old. 59 is really old.
oh boy.
Listen, thanks for coming here tonight.
What?
It's going to be here tomorrow night. Don't miss it. It is Mario's 410 Grill in Bridgewater. I think you'll have a great time. And don't forget, everything in the way of sports, every Sunday after local news at 11. It is the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show on KDK 100.1 FM AM 1020. It's your Pratt Pack from Mario's 410 Grill. Good night, everybody.